The show is about to start. Thank you for your cooperation. Enjoy the show, and please come back and visit us again.
You know, wrestling fans will always have the conversation about what the greatest entrance music is of all time, and this one doesn't get a mention. So if you're not a wrestling fan, don't get excited. We're still in WrestleMania season. This is still wrestling music, I will have you know. It's just also an absolute classic. Anyway, Nick Draper here with Stuart Deakins, the face of the BBC Sports website, for the latest edition of the 9 Years podcast, and one that is going to talk about a defeat. So I guess we're going to be back in the old routine this week, Stuart. It's kind of been nice to talk about wins. I suppose that was never going to last, was it?
No, I think we all felt that logic or the football gods told us that you don't really get 4 wins on the trot, or you get 5 games on the spin without conceding a goal. So, yeah, it's a shame, but I think we have to judge the game over a period of, say a month or so, rather than just on isolation. We're still in pretty decent form, but yeah, we don't really be losing too many games now with 7 left to play. 6
of which are teams basically that are down in the scrap with us, or are they? There might be a couple of exceptions to that rule, and we're going to be talking about the situation in this ridiculous Royal Rumble of a relegation battle as we go on. We will be talking about the Gillingham game. We'll also be thinking more about who our player of the year is going to be and making some more cuts from the squad in the nominations list there before looking ahead to a massive game away at Mansfield. Oh, no, sorry. No, not Mansfield. Scunthorpe this Saturday. Who'd get Scunthorpe and Mansfield confused? That's very odd, isn't it?
Well, you just did.
I just did. It's not as bad as, I don't know, who did you get confused? Who was it many years ago? Dagenham and Richmond, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and also where Burnley play and stuff like that. So, yeah, I suppose I can hardly talk, really.
Well, you can hardly talk. Where do Burnley play, Stu?
They play in Burnley.
Very good. I'm not sure if that's actually true. It could be one of those Fulham-Chelsea situations. I've never checked.
I always forget. I think I said Turf Mill, didn't I? When I think I should have said Turf Moor.
Turf Mill. What a moment.
Yeah, a classic, as they say.
Where do Port Vale play?
They play in... Oh, where do they play? Vale Park.
Oh, right. So when I ask for Burnley, you give me the town when I want the ground. And then when I want the town, you give me the ground.
Well, Port Vale play a place that doesn't actually exist. Was it
Stoke?
Was it played...
Pretty sure Stoke's
ground. Yeah, you can see Stoke's ground before you turn right. If that makes any sense to anybody that's travelled on that way. But I'm trying to think where they play now. Weird place, but it's not Port. Port Vale isn't actually a place, is it?
Not as far as I know. Where do Arsenal play?
The Emirates.
Very good. I hate that, by the way. Can I just say, I've probably said this on the podcast before, when stadiums, these new stadiums that have all got sponsors' names and everything, how people shorten it to, like the Etihad. I'm like, that's not a thing. It's like, at least call it the Etihad Stadium. But they do it with everything now. The worst one, and I think it's still the case, I think they're still sponsored by this group, is Stoke Stadium, where people call it the Bet365. I'm thinking, that's not a thing. Who says that? Who says, where are you off to this weekend? I'm off down the Bet365. No.
It's because sponsors will try and drum it in, don't they? I don't even know if clubs try and do it now, but Yeah, was I reading on the Tottenham? They're going to call it. They're not going to call it. Well, I think they're going to call it White Hart Lane, aren't they? They're not going to call it by a sponsor's name. They're saying. And by the way, what ground does that look? The Tottenham ground. But then look at the money they spent on it.
Kind of looks like Porto's ground to me. I'm going to be honest with you. Does not look. These grounds, they all look the same. I know Tottenham's looks amazing from the outside. It's got a very distinctive look outside. But inside, is it particularly... Kind of look at it and go, it could be anywhere. When you're watching that on TV, you could literally be anywhere.
It's very difficult nowadays, isn't it? Because in the olden days, I don't think you had so many contractors who would sort of build grounds. So you would never get, I'm trying to think now, if you remember the Bolton's old ground before they moved into the Reebok Point Proven, or
the Reebok...
or think about the Dell, or think about Highbury. They all, all the grounds are the same, don't they? The Southamptons of this world and the Summers of this world, because they all have the same contractors. Ironically, we have a contractor who has done other grounds as well. So, I just love... I think when I was growing up and went to grounds, you could watch TV and you could honestly say, easily you could work out what the ground was. But some grounds you play nowadays, I get confused who they are, because they all look the same, as you say.
I know exactly what you mean. I used to love watching the goals on a Sunday morning where they go around every ground and you'd instantly recognise which one's which. Like, you could, for example, you could go, that's Luton, look, that's Blackpool, that's Chesterfield, that's Mansfield. No, that's not Mansfield, it's Scunthorpe. No, I'm confused. Anyway.
But that's why I've always liked Everton, to be truthful. Everton I've always loved, because Everton just is distinctive, in terms of the three-tier main stand and the other stands that look they're similar, but Everton hasn't lost that identity. They may have lost about 20,000 fans they could probably add in on a match day. But some grounds have kept their history.
Yes, history and identity and character, all those important things that we all look for. So anyway, do you know which ground also has no character, identity or history whatsoever?
I'd imagine, do they play in yellow?
They might do.
Okay, well, I think I know who it is then.
Definitely Norwich. There we go. Yes, there we go. I was desperately racking my brains for it to be playing yellow. I was thinking, why is my mind going blank? Of course, Norwich.
Who else plays in yellow? It's only two teams that play in yellow, isn't it?
No, it must be others. Come on, we'll have a think. No, there's loads. Oxford, Burton, Albion.
They don't count.
So
they're in our league.
Others.
How can they count?
Well, no one in our league counts. Is that what you're saying?
No, because it's too easy. I can't believe we just forgot about it.
About those two. But anyway, moving on. Let's talk about Wimbledon. I was going to say just one last thing about teams that play in yellow. The serious answer to that question is, I think every bloody team in the country about 15 years ago played in yellow, because that was the kit change colour of choice. It seemed like every single team had a blooming yellow away kit. Drove me mad. And then we went through a phase where it was sky blue, and now I think people are just picking their own colours again, really. Not that they really need away colours as often as they choose to use them, but that's another conversation for another day. Gillingham, of course, they had to change colours on Saturday because we clash, blue versus blue. So anyway, off at a tangent, massive one at the start this week. We've got more important things to talk about. It's WrestleMania, it's of course Wimbledon 2, Gillingham 4. I've put here on my notes, Stu, just a bump in the road is... we say that, we've got no way of knowing. We'll only know that in 3-4 games' time when we know what comes the other side of it, don't we?
Yeah, it was... Look, even when you read the score out now, you still sit there and think, wow, where did that come from? Even where we were before, we haven't conceded... When's the last time we conceded 4 at home? Well, obviously Barnsley put 4 against us, but you sort of can live with that, can't you? To concede 4 at home is... Well, you're not... Put it this way, us, if we're going to see 4 at home, you're not going to win a game. That's quite easy to say, but a bump in the road, do you know what? I think Saturday probably showed us a few things in terms of it probably showed us how fragile our confidence is, because for 35, 40 minutes, played really well, could have been a couple up. Gillingham had a few chances here and there, but you still felt Aaron Ramsdale in goal was, invincible as usual. And then we just crumbled. And it's difficult to know whether we crumbled as a team or the fact that Aaron Ramsdale made errors which we just we haven't seen them, have we? We can't remember the last real error he made. Whether that just wiped the confidence out of people, because all of a sudden we were chasing shadows And probably from 5 minutes either, say 10 minutes either side of half time, game was done. And I think I think it just brought back all the old insecurities, and Waddy's now got a job to really get them out of get it out of their minds and go back to what we were doing before. But so it could be a bump in the road, but we'd rather have not had it at this point.
Now, I think I am in the minority here. I'm going to say that word again because I'm not sure how it came out just then. I am in the minority. And that is that I don't think we played well, particularly at all, on Saturday. Now, a lot of people have said exactly as you've just said, 35, 40 minutes. Wally even said it himself. We were on top. We were in control, playing well. I disagree slightly. I think we started really well. First 10 minutes, we took the game to them. We had 2 chances before Piggott hit the post. And then Piggott did hit the post, and the game just seemed to stop. And not a lot happened. The goal came a little bit out of the blue. It turned into what I consider a poor game. Nothing was happening. We got the goal. Moment of quality, it must be said, from all involved. And then we just started to coast. As soon as we got that goal, it coasted. And the equaliser for me was coming. But Gillingham were getting more possession. They were pushing us back. We were the ones that were being pushed back towards our own goal. And it didn't surprise me when they equalised. I think even the phrase someone near me on Saturday, I overheard saying, this is a case of just, get through to half-time without conceding. Of course, you can't legislate for the second goal. And that is a bit of a killer. But even then, I thought second half, to be honest, I thought we were poor. I had no complaints whatsoever about the result. And I know people, and we're going to talk about other factors on Saturday. I know people who disagree with me completely, but it's not to be critical. It's just to say, look, we've been on a good run. And like I've been saying over the last few weeks, when you've got these younger players in this younger squad, you're going to get inconsistent performances. And I think that's what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, I still think we were, I want to say, comfortable is probably not the greatest of words to use, but I still felt reasonably in control with 1-0 up. It was a strange thing I know it sounds silly, but we're not good with leads, especially not in first halves.
No, I can't remember the last time we won at Ellen Road. Thank you very much.
Dear.
Good night, everyone.
And we'll continue. But I suppose I still didn't think... yes, they were getting chances, but that's not... Hey, look, we're not a team that's going to shut out teams completely. But I still felt we were reasonably okay. In hindsight, yeah, they probably were getting in between us in terms of they played a 4-4-2, didn't they, with a triangle in the midfield. Sorry, the triangle, a diamond in midfield. And it meant sometimes that I don't think the 3 centre-backs worked as well with McDonald coming back in. And we did miss Will, but if you look at the goals, they got a run on us, then a slide ball and a near post. But I think we could have got through the half time. I don't think the lead flattered us at half time. I didn't see. I think anyone who thought we were going to concede 4 goals is crazy. I don't see where that come from. But in the end, it became a little bit of a cup game to a certain extent, where we were pushing caution to the wind. But in them first 35 minutes, I think we found their weakness very easily, and their weakness was down the left hand side because Barry Fuller's not a left back, and that was a weakness. The problem is we didn't capitalise enough on the weakness because Civic just didn't get enough quality delivery into the box. And one thing that made me chuckle in a way was that Barry Fuller must have been. I wonder how he saw it, because Civic would have been what in the academy. Well, yeah, academy. And then in the under-23s, and all of a sudden he had Civic running at him, and he done really well. But in the end, I think Barry Fuller done enough to stop the threat. But that's where the weakness was, and we couldn't capitalise on it enough.
Interesting, because you'd think of the 2 wing-backs, a lot of people would agree that Seddon is the stronger. So, and he's on the left, but neither of them, like Civic and Seddon, neither of them had good games, did they, on Saturday? And I mean, I'm not jumping on Seddon, he's been outstanding. I suppose he was due a poor performance. Was that also part of the reason we got into trouble? Because Seddon kept on pushing forward to not much joy, to be honest with you. And then there were huge gaps, which Gillingham could then exploit. It was down our left side as well, where most of their threats seemed to come.
Yeah, Seddon didn't really get much ball, really. The ball was always being transferred out to the right-hand side. And it's difficult to know sometimes because... the Gillingham manager said that he knew we'd been playing well and we're attacking well. And obviously, everyone knows a 3-5-2. Maybe the plan was actually to try and push us out to Civic, because if you're going to look at both of the wing backs, Seddon is a bigger threat. We gave away silly balls. That was a problem with it. We gave away square balls. We didn't keep the ball well. We didn't play well. There's no doubt about that. But it's not to contradict what I'm saying in terms of we were worth the lead. We were better than Gillingham, but they were both poor teams out of it. I think my concern is just the way we caved in. The second goal is worse than what I thought. I thought it was just a pot shot from distance in terms of we had loads of time. He didn't really. In the end, it was a good strike. It's a bad goal. But the good thing is no one's overreacted with it, apart from the team, really. Because I think the team overreacted because all of a sudden, like I say, I felt they felt a weakness in them. They didn't have the Ramsdale of previous weeks where literally he was invincible, and in a way we just lost confidence through the whole second half.
Do we also lose concentration? Was that the big issue? And is that also a way in which we perhaps missed Will because we didn't have that leader on the pitch to try and focus minds? I think the second goal for me is a concentration issue. I think Ramsdale's, because to be honest, the first goal, it goes under his body at the near post. It's a bad goal.
It is.
That's, to me, playing on his mind, whilst he's then faced with a shot which he probably wasn't expecting. And again, concentration slipped. The third goal is just all about concentration. We just go to sleep. And that's what's cost us in it 3-1. And as you say, then we've not reacted at all well.
No, and the subs didn't really work as we thought them to do. And they were the bog standard subs. It was funny, I was standing behind the goal for once, and actually it was quite enjoyable. But I called the subs. The three subs are like for like. What he's done those three subs, not all at the same time, but he's done those substitutions in most games when he's had Hansen available. The second goal, I was behind that second goal, and it did dip and swerve. There's no doubt, it felt like the wind got hold of it, but it was a shock to see it go in just because of how good Ramsdale is. Fair play to him. He held his hand up. He didn't hide. He held his hand up and stuff like that. But yeah, there was something missing on Saturday, wasn't there? It was just, I don't know what it was. It felt like Gillingham just were more up for it, and in the end, they had more game winners in the end. Their front three just caused us problems all day. And yeah, Will not being there. Sometimes you don't realise how much you miss somebody, do you, until they're not there. And yeah, I think you're right. Will was a big miss on Saturday. Yeah,
and Eves, I thought, in particular in the second half, really started to dictate things against our back three. I mean, it's not just a back three, is it? Defensively, midfield, are we lacking that defensive midfielder? It sounds ridiculous because, as I said, we've kept 4 clean sheets, or we had kept 4 clean sheets on the bounce going into it. But you mentioned earlier about their diamond midfield and the fact they got in between the lines through that. And I think it was Wordsworth that was tasked with being the most, or the deepest lying of the three.
Yeah, he was.
None of them really, to me, have the defensive awareness that you need sometimes.
No, and what he's called it beforehand, isn't he? That we have to try and stay compact. And this was always the worry, wasn't it, when Gillingham come into our place, because they are a team that realistically probably would let us attack. Not deliberately, but we were probably going to be a team that were going to force it, where Doncaster come to us and Peterborough come to us, them being in the playoff places, we're always going to try and take a game to us. So we could be a bit more compact. But the moment we started to be a little bit open, then the same things come back and haunt us, didn't they? And they did pick us off. In the second half, it was, hey, look, we could have lost that by more. Yes, we had our chances. It could have ended up, 6-3? And I think on chances on the second half. But yeah, substitute-wise, just didn't really work. Hansen scored the goal. Connolly didn't really get much joy because Barry Footer was never going to attack. So we never got a chance to really get 1-on-1 because they were quite happy to double up. And that was a problem, really. We were forced to go long. And any time we overhit the ball, it went to the freak of a goalkeeper who basically didn't really have to jump to him and catch anything, even against Hansen.
So hindsight being 2020, Pigott should have perhaps come off instead of Felivi. I mean, Wally's argument was exactly, he said there, they brought Hansen on, that sort of changes how you play and you start to go more direct. and he said that Piggott is scoring goals, and that's why he keeps his place on the pitch. But really, like you've just said there, if we're forced to go long, it doesn't come off. Their goalkeeper, Giant, surely we need to think about getting Falevi on the ball in that area where we know he can cause problems.
Possibly, yeah. And the big thing we've got with Hansen is we just can't get enough games for him, can we? So, you know, he got, when did he come on? Just about 50 minutes in, 55, 60. So he got half an hour on Saturday. He missed obviously Southend. He's got, I think he's got a good hour for the under-23s against Forest Green this week, so that'll do him good. He got a goal. Even Joe scored now, so he can't be that good.
We just must distinct this. Yeah, there's a development game on Tuesday against Mercer, 6-0 in the end. Forest Green are vegan. They've got no energy. It's no surprise. We should have got double figures against that lot. 4 or 5 of them were asleep after an hour.
Although we did have a trialist on, didn't we? Apparently, Felix.
Was he a goalkeeper? Please tell me he was a goalkeeper.
I don't know, but you know, if he's named after a cat, maybe he's got 9 lives.
That's what I was thinking. You see, if he's got to be I was thinking he's got to be a goalkeeper because he could be the cat, like the cat.
But we don't need a goalkeeper.
Can't really do that joke any more than just say the cat over and over again. Cat.
But yeah, we've just. I think the big thing is, and what I tried to do after Saturday is, you know what, game's gone, it's gone. Yeah, let it go, it's gone. Can overanalyse a game until you're blue in the face. I think Waddy's interview was really spot on, really, in terms of saying that maybe sometime we've got to remember we're the underdog, and we've got to remember that we're bottom. Well, we're in the bottom 4 for a reason, and we've got to fight. We didn't do all those things, but I think someone said to me around where I was standing, if we looked at it, 9 points from 12 games, we'd all taken it, and we all would have. So it's really now key is, how do we respond away to Scunthorpe? Because you look at the table now, Scunthorpe, Shrewsbury, Southend, all the Asses are probably the teams we're going to be looking to catch, unless Accrington got games in hand. So they've got to basically do nothing with their games in hand to keep us in touch. But I think the key is not to get too excited by it, which is it's easy said and done when you've won 3 games on the spin and not conceded a goal for 6 hours. But yeah, we just have to move on to Scunthorpe now.
I want to just look at a couple more things in the Genome game because people listening will be going, why have you not mentioned this? The referee. Now, I do have to have a little bit of a moan about this, right? Because I'm not one to have a go at referees, all right? I thought the referee had a poor game. He got decisions wrong. For both sides, I couldn't understand how he'd come to certain conclusions. I think the 4th goal came from a free kick. It was never a foul for a free kick. I didn't understand where he got that from at all. But that said, everyone agrees with the respect the referee thing. I've never heard somebody say when it comes to respecting the referees or when they see those classic shots of players surrounding the referee and saying how disgraceful it is and how they're showing him no respect and why can't we be more like other sports who the referee's word is final, they don't even question it, blah, 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 blah. Everyone agrees that the referee's word should be final and it should be, and they should be respected and be treated better than they are. And this goes from Premier League to the World Cup to your park pitches for your youth games, okay, on a Saturday morning. People have got to start practicing what they're preaching here because some of the abuse levelled at the officials on Saturday, and bear in mind, this is at AFC Wimbledon, okay? I'm not talking like Millwall here. On AFC Wimbledon, in the main stand, I was like, give over. What? Some of the things were being shouted, I was thinking, what? Why? Like, I get people are frustrated and what have you and things like that. But really, in reality, I just thought crossing a line with some of these things was saying one person hoping that the referee had a car crash on the way home. I'm thinking, really? It's not even funny. Like, even if he meant it as a sort of a joke, or sort of in a jokey way, I thought, no, why are you even going there? And it does wind me up because, as I say, there are people at the lower level. Why be a referee? And it's just going to get worse, by the way, with the VAR. It's going to get 100 times worse because all of a sudden they're going to question absolutely everything that the referee says. And we're making a rod for our own backs, bringing in technology the way we are. I just thought, get over it. We didn't lose because of a referee. We might have won against Peterborough because of a referee, but we didn't lose this one because of one.
No, I agree, and I think the respect. I think they can make mistakes, and it does worry you sometimes when they make so many bad mistakes. But I think the respect thing is a key thing. I've been over. I've sat where you sit, and there is. Do you know what? Sometimes banter can be funny. Sometimes, if it is banter, I've heard sometimes assistant referees get so much grief, but in a banter way. In terms of you can't see, not personal, well, definitely not what you said there in terms of hoping bad things to referees. I think we have to be careful. In the bigger picture, the Football Association and the Referee Association have all said that year on year, the amount of referees that are coming through have dropped because it's just, in a lower league, I've played Sunday football and crikey, I've seen referees chased around a pitch because of the decision. We've got to be careful because if we don't have referees, we don't have a game. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. And you could argue sometimes the reason why you don't have so many referees coming through the system is because if you had any budding referees go to one of our games, and we're not the worst by any stretch. Doesn't mean we're angels either. But why would you want to go through that? And it's interesting because James Lonsdale, her son, Will, is an assistant referee, I believe. And I think great, really pleased for him. But he's going to have to be quite, tough in terms of mentally tough to not take the abuse. And it's really sad, isn't it? That, someone wants to have a career in the game, and there is a career for a referee in the game, but in a way you've got to either become deaf or just go, oh, that's part of the game. It's not part of the game. But it's a culture. We, look at referees in rugby, even American football, they're mic'd up. You can hear what they're saying. Does that make any difference? I don't know whether referees that, the rugby referees, because they're mic'd up, that makes a difference in terms of respecting. I don't know. Is it because it's supposed to be a middle-class game, the rugby game? And we don't have a problem with micing referees up at our ground because we can't get a mic to work. But it's just, some really bad things that are said to referees.
Yeah, it does wind me up, to be honest with you. Especially, as I say, I don't think it affected our result, or I didn't have any complaints about the result on Saturday. But that's not to say we can't sit here, Stu, and go back over things and say, like I have. I'm not sure his performance was particularly great, but we don't need the abuse that goes with it.
No, I think the things that he frustrated me on was that there was a close corner penalty. I thought it was a pen, but I also know we also had to accept that Dylan Connolly goes down. Wow, I was going to say something rude then, but he does go very down very quickly, doesn't he?
Goes very down very quickly.
Yeah, it goes down very quickly. I was trying to use a reference, but I thought I'd stay away from that. There was two things that he frustrated me on in terms of Hansen was come on and done everything that Piggott didn't do to those two centre-halves and basically gave them something to think about. And I thought they went down, it's like they had a little alarm clock on them or something. The moment they were, or buzzer, the moment they were touched, they went down. There was one funny one where, I think it was the second one. So the first one, I think Hansen did connect with his nose.
Oh, yes.
But I think Hansen was looking at the ball. But he's an old school he's an old school centre forward, isn't he?
Yeah.
The second one made me chuckle because the guy was rolling around but still had time to moan to the referee that he'd been hit in the face, even though he was quite easy. He looks quite comfortable that he was able to speak to the referee. And I just thought the referee allowed them to play the situation, break it up, all that sort of thing. The free kick down the end was an old-fashioned shoulder charge, but Eves is clever. He knew the touch was coming. He knew the referee would blow up the moment he went flying, and played it. That sometimes is not the referee being not good. It's sometimes we're not as experienced at certain things. Bayo, Hansen, Lyle Taylor to a certain extent. See, I got it in. It wasn't too bad, was it? They knew how to play referees through experience. So I don't think he was bad. He wasn't great, but we do have to watch what we say to referees. I agree with you massively. One thing I would say to you, by the way, is that we tried to give grief to the goalkeeper in the second half. Did you actually ever see that goalkeeper make any communication, either talking or anything? It looked like, right? There was one bit where I think, we had the problem with the pitch where I think there was a hole in the pitch, wasn't there? That we had to sort out.
Surface leaf, yeah.
Yeah, did you notice, right? Every player went to the bench apart from their goalkeeper. As if like he wasn't included in it. He was amazing.
Was it
He didn't... Go on.
I was going to say, was he the Terminator?
He didn't speak once. Even when the ball was in the air, he didn't even call for it. There was no need. because you'd have to be like 8 foot tall to get anywhere near it. But it was just amazing. We were commenting, Richie, that maybe, I don't think he speaks. Like, I heard no words. We were trying to give him grief. To be fair, we thought about giving him grief, but when he turned around, he's 6'9", you're like, yeah, maybe not going to give you too much grief, really. But what a freak.
Maybe if Mikey T had announced that Sarah Connor needs to come to the press box immediately, his attention would have been diverted and he'd have stormed off and we could have scored loads of open goals or something. I don't know. We might have to try that next season when we play against, what's his name, Thomas Holy.
That's right, yes. There was a few people who said holy F word when they saw him. It was like,
Fridge?
What the?
Frisian.
It's a 4-letter word.
Fold?
Well, he didn't do that. Although, by the way, do you know what? The referee did again when his own buzzer. I think the referees have this like goal line technology where the buzzer goes off and it goes over the line. I think the referee on Saturday had that whenever a Gillingham player was touched, because he went up for a ball with Hansen and basically his own player took him out. We got crossed over. Pigger knocked it into an empty net for 4-3, I think that was.
Yeah.
And the referee blew a free kick. It was never a free kick. But I think the referee was more in shock that a keeper that size missed the ball in the air. But yeah, there we are.
There you go. Gillingham game done. Dusted. In the past. Can't change it now. I don't think I've... I was trying to remember this. Gillingham won, I think, the year we stayed up on the last day, Gillingham won League 2. And they won at Kings Meadow in something around November, December time. They won 1-0. I think that's the only time there'd been an away... it's the only time we'd lost to them, I think, ever, in the history of ever. Certainly in my lifetime watching Wimbledon. I don't think we've lost at Priestfield, have we? So, yeah, it's quite weird to see them win. I don't think it ever happens, but there you go.
To be honest with you, if they're going to be down in the mix on the relegation and they're not getting relegated, I think they showed enough. They had enough about them to go, do you know what? Yeah. Because I thought, from all accounts, they were really bad at home in the season. But they were worth their win. They're not going to be a team that's going to be caught in this relegation battle. And fair play to them.
Speaking of which, this relegation battle, this 13-team Royal Rumble that everyone's going on about in League One, I'm going to reduce some of those numbers, I think. So everyone's looking up to Gillingham because they're only 5 points away from the relegation zone. But I think Gillingham in 12th now. I don't think they're going down. I think they're fine. I think you're going to hit 50 points and you're going to be all right. So they're only 3 points away. I think Gillingham are fine in 12th. Oxford in 13th. I think they're fine now. Plymouth in 14th. They're going to be fine. And then Bristol Rovers in 15th. They've got a game that is going on as we are recording at home to Doncaster. Doncaster are in horrific form. I think Bristol Rovers can probably win that. I think they're out of it. So really, I think you're looking at, it's 4 teams from 9. So going from Bradford up to Wickham in 16th. So Wickham, Accrington, Scunthorpe, Shrewsbury, Southend, and then the bottom 4, Warsaw, Rochdale, ourselves, and then Bradford City. However, I'm going to reduce it further. And instead of 4 from 9, I'm going to say it's 3 from 8. Bradford 6 points adrift. I think they're gone. I can't believe it, but I think they're gone. They're done for.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? But you know what? They're on their, like, I don't know, 10th manager for the season, aren't they? It feels like
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it ain't going to happen, is it? And you're right. To be 6 points adrift, you ain't going to. Hey, look, if we were in Bradford's position, we would be going, Joe, what? That's game over. 7 games to go, 6 point swing. Can't see it. I think you're probably right. I think anywhere up to Wickham, and even as I say Wickham and Accrington, it's because we've still got to play them. So I still think we can influence it. Although I don't know if you had a look at it, you probably have, but the fixtures this week, again, there's some humdingers like. But it's not a surprise when you've got so many teams involved in there. Of course, they're going to be playing each other at some point. But I think you're right. I think Bristol Rovers above, I think, are safe. I think the 3 teams that I'm looking at, I think, are the ones we will catch. I think if we're going to stay up, we've got to basically, I think Scunthorpe, Shrewsbury and Southend are going to be the teams we've got to keep in it. That's my gut feeling. But it's really weird. One defeat and all of a sudden you sort of go, oh no, we're in trouble. But it's because the games are running out. 7 games to go, not long at all.
No, and that's why I think Bradford are gone. Because as you say, it's not the fact they're 6 points adrift is the fact that it's the swing. So they could win their next two, I guess, arguably, but then you're still in a position where, with what would they have then? They'd have 5 games to go, and they've still got to outperform every other team down there. I just don't see it happening. And to lose 4 to Blackpool, who aren't the highest scorers either.
No. And do you know what the weirdest thing is? I'm not too sure how I want this to play now, because you're right, I think Bradford are done. But do we want them completely done, like out of the equation, no matter what they do in the last game of the season against us, they can't get off the bottom of the table? Do we want that? Because what I mean by that is if we need to go to Bradford and get a result, and Bradford, no matter what they do, they can't get off the bottom of the table, is that good for us? Or does that basically mean that Bradford can play with, like, I don't care anymore, we're just going to have a bit of a laugh here? Because I don't think you can in that stadium. The stadium might only have about 3,000 or 4,000 in it, and most of them will be Wimbledon fans. It's difficult, isn't it? Because we have to go there last game of the season.
It's also one of those where you think, I know what you're saying. I think just get rid of them, to be honest with you. Because I think by that time, I think the way their season's gone, as you say, with all the different managers, I think they're down tools by then. They won't be bothered. I think we just get rid of them. I think the other one in that sort of line of thinking is Oxford. And does it, I know we sort of discounted them, but if we can make sure that they are safe and home and hosed by the time we go there, similar thing. I think that's a harder game. If they're down in amongst it, as we are, then that's a much harder game for us. I think if they're up and away and safe, then the team that needs a result will be the ones that will be getting it. So,
and the interesting thing about Southend, by the way, obviously they've sacked, or is it mutual consent? Chris Powell's left today. Tuesday, of course.
Yes, Tuesday.
I was chatting to somebody that I know very well. I won't know who it is because they told me a story. But basically, they bumped into Chris Powell at they live very local to each other, and there was an accident on one of the country lanes, and basically none of them could move. And he ran down a window, chatting to him, realised it was Chris Powell. And he said, "Oh, he goes, it's for the Southend game." I was chatting and basically going, "Oh," he goes, "I want you guys to do us a favour on Saturday." He went, "Oh, I'm a Wimbledon fan," straight away. And basically, long story short, said that he'd always watched and said we were flying and really looked like we were on the game and, we're going to get in trouble. But he said one thing he was struggling with his team was that complacency is set in. And he said the most difficult thing to stop is complacency. You can talk, you can holler, you can try and get it into your players, but the moment you see complacency in them, you can't get it out of them. It's not like a switch. And he said he was really worried that was happening to his team. And it looks by all accounts that's what did happen to the team. And it's like I was saying a little while ago, wasn't it? I mean, you just can't turn form on when you want to. We're in that position now. We can't always just suddenly say, well, let's forget about Gillingham. We'll go to Scunthorpe and play like we do against Southend. It just doesn't work that way. But yeah, I don't know who Southend are going to get in. At the time of recording, I don't believe they did have anybody in. But who takes that job with 7 games to go? I just don't understand why you would get rid of your manager. What could someone do in 7 games? How can you get somebody in with 7 games to go?
The academy head, Ricky Duncan is his name, is in temporary charge. I totally agree with you. I don't know who'd you get in? Well, it's a bit of a merry-go-round even, I suppose, because maybe David Hopkin fancies going in there. Perhaps Stuart McCall fancies going in there, having left Scunthorpe.
Of course. Chairman just want to get that real short-term spark, don't they? I don't know. I don't know if it works or not. I don't think it does. But yeah, it's just, does it work? Yeah, does it work against us? Do they all of a sudden Scunthorpe get that spark that it didn't have? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. They're not in great form at all as it goes. To go back to your talk about Bradford just there, Bradford's remaining fixtures, I mean, they've got Bristol Rovers and they've got Scunthorpe and they've got Gillingham. I think Gillingham are out of it, like we said. So really, their last 2 games, Bradford, their last away game is Scunthorpe and then their last home game is us. And I guess as much as it would help us if we need a win on the last day, if they're already down and we need a win to stay up, I think you'd fancy us to get that win. But then does the same apply for Scunthorpe the week before? It's just impossible to judge. I think maybe next week's year we'll look at every team's last 6 and try and figure it out from there.
Do you know what the interesting thing about Bradford is? They've lost 23 games out of 39. 23 games. It's just like, wow. And they are, let's not big around the bush. They are a big side in our league. They are a big team in our league, and they're going into League Two. Can you imagine France saying next year could be League Two against Solihull Moors? Sorry, League Two could be Bradford City against Solihull Moors. It's pretty scary, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? But what happens to Bradford moving forward? You just have to wonder what's going on there, because they shouldn't. Not that a size of club should, just because you've got a 25,000 all-seater doesn't mean you should stay up. But yeah, you shouldn't be losing 23 games out of 39 in a league season.
That's still the hangover from their abysmal close season where they took forever to appoint a manager and couldn't recruit until very late, and they just haven't been able to fix that over the course of the season. They've been down there pretty much since day one, really, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
So there we go. I mean, just as you said, you think Scunthorpe, Shrewsbury, Southend are the ones that drop in. Accrington in that mix as well, do we say? Because they're just in such poor form. Does that mean you think Walsall and Rochdale have got enough about them to get themselves out of it? Don't forget, Rochdale, another team that recently sacked their manager.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm sort of like looking away from Walsall and Rochdale. I think we'll finish above them. I really do. I think we'll finish above them. I think they will stay in. I don't think Walsall are great. They conceded another late goal, didn't they, against Barnsley? I don't get wrong, Barnsley have gone to clubs and really slaughtered them. So just to lose 1-0 is not the worst thing, but it's a defeat. Rochdale, changed their manager. I think they'll stay in there. I really do. Accrington, the only thing I'll say about Accrington is they've only lost 15 games this season. So they draw a lot. So they've drawn 11, won 11. So the only thing you can probably say about Accrington is if that form goes on, that realistically they may not lose, but picking up a point here and there isn't going to do much favours in these last 7 games. So they're the only ones Wickham, difficult Wickham is they've got a couple of ex-players, but no one really likes Wickham, do we? That's the thing. But no, I think my gut thing is if we can beat Scunthorpe on Saturday, we bring them into it. Southend, I think, are gone. I think they're gone. I think it'd just be fighting between them, Walsall and Rochdale. I still think we can get out of it. I really do. But it's going to be tight now.
Let's have a look at those fixtures this weekend that you've referenced. So I'm going to call them the Big Four, which are Gillingham, Rochdale, Oxford versus Wickham, ourselves travel to Scunthorpe, and Southend versus Shrewsbury. Now, if you're a Southend fan, after 11 games without a win, having just sacked your manager, you're thinking, game on. This is where our run ends. Accrington host Fleetwood, who Fleetwood are just the middle-of-the-road nowhere team this season. Bristol Rovers, we don't know. They're hosting Luton, so I actually fancy Bristol might be the ones that end Luton's run. So, but those big four games, like I say, teams all taking points off each other. A win is now huge, isn't it? Huge for us on Saturday.
I think so. I think, do we want some of those games to end in draws potentially? I think at this stage you can live with a point if we can get maximum. It's one of those, isn't it? Or do you want, for argument's sake, for Southend to lose at home to Shrewsbury get away and leave Southend? Because really all we've got to say, we've just basically got to climb 3 places. That's all we've got to do. I don't make that sound like it's easy. But do we sort of go, do you know what? Is it better to make someone like Southend become a drift, and then we can get them, or do we do a Scunthorpe? I think if I look at all the teams, Scunthorpe, I still think have a bit about them. Southend, I think they're done for. So I don't know. It's a difficult one, but it is a part of the season where you're looking at other results. I've tried not to do that for like months, but I have. On Saturday, I won't lie, I was looking at other results because you just got no choice. Because you've got to see really whether you losing has really put you in trouble. But thankfully on Saturday, we didn't really get cut adrift much more than what we were already.
No, results were favourable. So looking ahead then, this is Scunthorpe game. So Scunthorpe 18th currently, 1 win from their last 6 with 4 defeats, and they have the joint second worst defence in the division. As we said, they lost 3-1 at Rochdale on Saturday. Rochdale enjoying the new manager, but first game after losing a manager. Enjoyed a bounce there with a win after they'd been struggling. Scunthorpe, of course, they actually beat us at Kings. Oh my God. Why is everyone down there beat us at one point this season? So like Bradford won at Kingsmeadow, Walsall won at Kingsmeadow, Shrewsbury won at Kingsmeadow, Scunthorpe won at Kingsmeadow. Ugh, rubbish, innit?
Yeah, Scunthorpe's, the only thing I would say about Scunthorpe is they do tend to beat most of the teams that are in around them, with the exception they did lose 1-0 at home to Bristol Rovers, but beat Southend 4-1. They beat Accrington 2-0, Coventry 2-1, Wycombe 1-0. So they are beating teams. For us, it's not a bad place for us to go. I think our record's quite decent there, from memory. I can remember us beating them in the FA Cup. I can remember beating us midweek in the league. So
don't think we've lost there.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. At the top of my head, I can't think.
No.
We drew every game of the season, didn't we, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, we had a 0-0 there a couple of years ago. But no, we've not lost at that stadium in Field Mill.
So it's a decent, and sometimes that does make a bit of difference sometimes psychologically. But yeah, it's not beat around the bush. We need to win. I don't think a draw. I'll be honest with you, I don't think a draw at this stage of the season is great because we've probably got to win 4 out of 7. And you don't want it to become 4 out of 6. So I think we do have to go there and try and win.
3 wins and 2 draws takes us to 50. That's not too bad, is it?
It's 50. Hey, look, 50 points is decent. Is it enough? Difficult to know, isn't it? It really is difficult to know. But I think it is 4 wins. If you look at the 4 wins realistically, if we can get Scunthorpe, we still have Accrington to play. We still have Bristol Rovers to play, Oxford to play, Wycombe to play, at the bottom of the league team to play, Bradford last day of the season. So I think what it is, you just want to get back onto winning ways quicker, as quick as possible, especially this time of season. So, the bold accounts, we should have James Hansen available. And if you're lucky, Kwesi may be coming back and be available to play because he's been available to play for Ghana.
Dare I mention the name Kwesi Appiah? I know you've just done it. But
I just did for you.
I'm just thinking, do you want me to... There's nothing for me... Go on. Talk about Kwesi.
Hey, look, Kwesi frustrates me massively that he's playing for Ghana before he even played for Wimbledon, back from being injured. But do you know what? If he comes back fit and raring to go, great. Does he play at Scunthorpe? Unlikely, because he's going to have a trip back from international duties, so he's going to have a flight to deal with. He's then going to go to Scunthorpe, which is more travelling. Do we bother, realistically, or do we just say, Kwesi, come back, chill, don't touch anything, don't let anyone tackle you, live in a bubble for the rest of the week, don't get injured, and then use him back for Accrington at home, which is our next game, isn't it, I believe. So I think it's worth having Kwesi for Accrington than it is desperately trying to get him to Scunthorpe.
I was just looking to make sure that I got the name of the Scunthorpe manager correct, and I had. Andy Dawson is the guy that's in charge, temporary charge, whether Kwesi plays there or not. And I just happened to notice as you were talking that on my... What should I say here? On my internet search engine, it came up with a little map of Scunthorpe. And I just happened to see it's close to these little towns or villages, I don't know what they are. One called Wrestle, which I thought was amazing. Surely they must have a village fete every year called WrestleMania. Surely. That's just got to be done. And then next to it is a town called Broughton. And I thought, I wonder if that's where Drew comes from or came from. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Of course, one of our greatest ever debutants, Drew Broughton, scored on his debut, didn't he? Many years ago.
Well, it did, and some people refused to recognise it as even him that scored it, or even that he scored a goal.
They did indeed. But hey, he did. We won. Without that, I don't know what word I was trying to say there. Without that goal, we'd have only won that game 4-2. So it was a vital goal. Following week, he scored against Altrincham, I think, and we'd have only won that 3-1 instead of 4-1. So, integral part in our promotion season was Drew Broughton. Anyway, prediction for Scunthorpe?
I think we're going to win, and that's probably because my heart is rolling in my head at the moment, but I think we're going to win 1-0.
I'm going to say it's going to be a 2-2 draw. Because I always say it's going to be a draw. This time there'll just be goals involved. Right, time to look at our Player of the Year picks, Stu. We've whittled down the list for after last week. So every week we're going to cut some players from the squad that we think are not in the running for our Player of the Year award. Now, I have since discovered from last week that Tyler Garrett is indeed still with us. Nobody knows why, but he is. But he's still not getting in the list, so I'm not putting him back in contention. He's gone. He was gone before we even started. So last week, who did we get rid of? Tenai Watson, Jake Jervis, and somebody else who I've forgotten already.
Tom Sawes?
Tom Sawes, who is still with us also, apparently.
Yes.
So 3 players to get rid of this week, Stu. If I was to go down, scan my eyes down this list, well, we've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 8, 20 players left, okay? 3 players I'm going to cut. Do you know who I'm going to start with this week?
Go for it, yeah.
For leaving, no. I'm going to say, because he didn't have a very good week this week, Toby Sibic.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I'm trying to whittle down a list in terms of who I think least deserves to win Player of the Year, if that makes any sense.
Yes, that makes perfect sense.
So Civic at this, hey, look, I can agree with you because I don't think Civic will win it. Do I think he deserves to go out of the second round of votes from us? Probably not, but if push comes to shove, yeah, I can live with that.
I'm trying to get inside your head now because I'm thinking if you're thinking of players that least deserve it, there are 2 names here that are massive flags to me that I think you would be going for right now. Do you want me to mention them?
Go on, yeah, go. I've got in my head. I've got the ones that I think I would get rid of straight away.
Okay, one of them is Apaya.
Yes.
And then the other one, it could be a couple actually. I'm going to say Oshilaja.
Yeah, again, Deji. I don't think Deji's had a great season, but I don't think that's helped because his head was turned right at the start of the season. Yeah, Kwesi definitely. I probably would go with McDonnell. Simply with the amount of games that he's played. Nothing against his form, but I'm trying to think when King was dropped, what did he have a game of? About 6, 7 games he had a game of? Did nothing wrong in those games, but in my opinion, I probably would get rid of a goalkeeper. But in terms of forwards, we got rid of Jake Jervis the week before, and I think Apaya would be my next one to go after that.
So we're going to get rid of Apaya. Apaya is cut, done,
Agreed, done.
Kwesi's done. Sibic.
Do you know what? I will say yes, just because I think Civic will probably we're doing Player of the Year, aren't we? The Young Player of the Year award's still got to come up for the season, so I think he'll score well on that anyway. Let's get rid of Civic as well.
So that just leaves us. So that leaves us with a third. And you've gone for Joe McDonnell.
You've gone for Deji.
I've gone for Deji. Shall we put this one to a vote?
Yeah, I think we should do.
Okay, let's do it on Facebook. We'll do it on our Facebook page, and we'll do a vote on our Facebook page. Joe McDonnell or Deji Oshilaja, who is going to be cut from the Player of the Year running this week? I have a feeling I know who might win that vote. But who knows? Life is a box of chocolates, Stu. You never know what you're going to get, or in this instance, what the result of the poll's going to be. Anyway, we'll do that on Facebook over the next few days. Keep your eyes out on that. Facebook.com/9YRS podcast. Bits and pieces to tidy up very quickly. Ladies team, wrong end of a 2-1 defeat to Stevenage this past week. Caroline Bisson got our goal for the ladies, who are now 7th in the division. Crawley are at the top of the league, like 10 points clear. I don't know how that happens, but they are top 10 points clear of Billericay in second. What is going on? It's like non-league foes of yesteryear are coming back to haunt us in the guise of the ladies' teams. It's very
does seem that way, doesn't it?
The ladies are away at Norwich this Sunday, just to give you an indication of the range of clubs when you consider their male counterparts and the different statuses they're at in the pyramid. Quite an eclectic mix of teams, really, isn't it, if you think of it in those terms? Which you shouldn't do, so I don't know why I just did it. But anyway, music quiz this week. Last week, it was WrestleMania season has got underway, so it was the New World Order theme from WCW days. Thank you to LH, Matt Harwood, and Zach Thompson of our band. these fine gentlemen who contacted us on Twitter with that at 9YRS Podcast. Please do so again this week with the song that started this week's show. Stu, at the end of these fine gentlemen who will be playing us out, as they always do at the end of the show, just going to put a little bit of audio from Love Sport Radio. Now, this is not the outstanding Wimbledon fan show. It's not a clip from the Wimbledon fan show. It's on every Sunday evening. This week, just gone with Kevin Boris. Excellent show with Jake Watson and Hannah Kitcher. But this is from the Love Sport breakfast show, in which they do regularly do across during the week. A lot of the shows do feature Wimbledon chat. At some point, we've all probably between us featured or called into the show, haven't we? On someone's show or other. Like you have, I have, Kevin, Chris. We've all been on there in different shows during the day. There was no one on the show well, I was actually, but that's not what I'm going to play on the audio for. It's just a little chat they had. But just putting it out there, Stu, that, you know, it's not just on a Sunday evening when they talk Wimbledon. It's all through the week.
They love us, don't they?
Absolutely they do. And who wouldn't? At the end of the day, who wouldn't? But anyway, play that audio. So listen to that, a little bit of bonus audio for you, a bit of extra Wimbledon chat. But that really is it, unless there's anything you want to add.
No, it's been one of those weeks, hasn't it, really? It's just 7 games to go. It's just like, yeah, this could be, as I said, and a few people mentioned to me on Saturday when I saw them that they were interested that I mentioned, you know, this team I think has been probably the worst team we've had, no disrespect to them, but actually this team could go down in history as probably one of the best escapes of our relegation. So it's just really, I think that's how, I don't know how Wally defines it to the team, but I would be going in and saying, do you know what, you've got a chance to make history here. Some players might not want to feel like, you know, escaping relegation is history, but we've said it many times before. How many times do you see Match of the Day or the Football League Review have teams that have escaped relegation celebrating more than if they actually got promoted up a league? It's escaping relegation is a massive thing. So it's our moment of destiny, isn't it?
Moment of Destiny. That sounds like the name of a science fiction novel. Sort of. Anyway, that is it. Thank you very much for joining me this week, Stu.
Thank you.
Updates from the Scunthorpe game will be available on our Twitter at 9YRS Podcast. And the AFC Women and Business Club this week, they are playing Whiff Waff with former Swindon Town striker Jan Arger Fjortoft, who may have also played for Barnsley, possibly, potentially. We were talking about the Love Sport show on Sunday evenings, 8:30 for an hour and a half this weekend. So tune in at 8:30 for an hour and a half of AFC Wimbledon chat, and I will try and get some wrestling in there as well. Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last. We will speak to you again next week.
.43 Comedy Breakfast on Love Sport Radio. Ian Stone here with Paul Mortimer. Jamie has come in. He's handed me a League One table, which is a bit bonkers, to be honest, because, just to give you an idea, in 12th place are Gillingham on 47 points, only 5 points above the relegation zone. In 11th place are Fleetwood Town, who are on 52 points, only 6 points below the playoffs. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable that at the end of the season, Fleetwood Town in 11th could be promoted and Gillingham Town in 12th could be relegated. Now, you don't see that very often. Jamie, you said there was a piece in one of the newspapers about this.
Yeah, Gregor Robertson was down at Plymouth Argyle to watch their draw with Bristol Rovers on Saturday, just talking about how it's absolutely ridiculous. You've got a mid-table relegation clash, as he puts it, going
14th against 15th.
Yeah. 12th place Plymouth, 13th place.
Oh, right. They've gone down. They both went down a few places.
Both went down because they only got a point.
And Gillingham, who were in quite serious trouble and are still not out of it, beat Wimbledon 4-2 and have moved 4 points clear of the relegation. 5 points clear of the relegation zone. It's really tight down there.
Well, the weird thing is, you've got AFC Wimbledon, who have been below the line all season long, could finish mid-table. It is the strangest division.
We like these divisions. We like it. We like the Championship being really tight. We like League One being really tight. It's what we want.
Yeah, normally, just to put things into perspective, in the past, last 3 League One campaigns, the gap between 12th and the drop zone has been between 10 and 15 points.
Right.
And the gap between 12th and the foot of the table has been between 20 and 26 points.
No one's adrift. No one's adrift.
Apart from Bradford. I think Bradford are
6
in
points.
poor form. They're in poor form.
They are in poor form, but if they suddenly, you know what, it only takes one, they get a lucky goal, they win 1-0, suddenly they're only 3 points behind, and then they get you know how things change very quickly in football.
Definitely. I mean, if you look at AFC Wimbledon, the thing about them is, I think they've got Scunthorpe, Accrington and Wickham to play, I think.
They do.
So it's in their hands.
These are teams all around them. Scunthorpe 18th, Wickham 16th, Accrington 17th. Very, very tight. And Wally Downs Jr. would have done a great job if he keeps them up. A great job. But as we spoke to the guy from the...
he would have done a magnificent job. He would have done a magnificent job. He'd being a journalist.
He's a boxing journalist. Yeah, that would be magnificent. You're right.
There's another one as well.
Another one?
There's a junior. There's a Wally Down, a 4-year-old Wally Downs as well. Yeah. Sometimes you can hear him in the background when we get his dad on to talk boxing.
Junior.
There's a junior,
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah.
Are they all called Wally Downs in that family?
Yeah.
Is that what they do?
That's the thing.
Just a simple thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Wally, and they all look up. Which one? Oh, okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. Completely lacking in imagination, that family, aren't they? Let's be fair.
You're just a family like that, man.
Not dissing a family, I'm just saying, different names.
You just said they're lacking in imagination.
I did.
That's a diss.
That is a diss, you're right. There are just lots of names available.
They're coming after you, mate.
Should we call him Walter? I like Walter.
West Londoners, they're going to come after you. They know where you live.
They don't know where I live. Don't tell them where I live. Anyway.
You know Wally, don't you, Morts?
Yeah. I grew up with him and his brother Peter. They used to live around the corner from me.
Are you surprised he's doing...
His mum, Wally, she's nice. Uncle Wally and Auntie Wally and Grandma Wally. Lovely family. Anyway.
Are you surprised? Morts,
he's gone.
He's off.
He's gone. Don't ask him anything for a minute. Anyway,
I was going to ask Morts if he's surprised that he's done so well.
No, he's a fantastic coach. He is a very... he was my coach at Palace. And very, very good defensive coach. Did it at West Ham too, I think, under Allardyce. Managed at Brentford before, wasn't as good, but he's far more experienced now. It's a difficult job he's taken on, to be truthful.
But he knows the club, though.
But he knows the club.
He knows the club. He's got the Wimbledon in his blood.
Right then,